what's going on with Bob Iger's situation over at the Walt Disney Company and exactly why he's now being investigated by the FCC. Not only is the FCC now looking into the Walt Disney Company, but they are now officially moving forward to investigate Disney CEO Bob Iger specifically.
And Disney decided to hire the most insufferable girl boss narcissist that exists on Earth.
Other movie companies are going to look at her and they're going to say box office poison. And a lot of this is due to her behavior leading up to the film's release.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
Disney's once hyped live-action Snow White reboot has spiraled into chaos, blindsiding even its biggest defenders. What was meant to be a bold revival of a beloved classic has now crashed headfirst into a wave of backlash, controversy, and behind-the-scenes drama that's anything but typical Hollywood noise.
This is Rachel Zegler, who Disney decided would be brilliant in casting because, as Rachel Zegler says, her millions of fans will line up no matter what she does to see her.
Whispers of chaotic rewrites, endless reshoots, skyrocketing costs, and explosive on-set drama have painted a picture of a production teetering on the edge. At the center of the storm, Rachel Zegler. Insider leaks claim the lead actress had a meltdown so intense it brought the entire set to a standstill, throwing the already troubled film into deeper disarray.
Look at this acting.
That at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Pouring gasoline on an already blazing fire, Disney's own CEO has stepped in, dropping bombshells about explosive behind-the-scenes clashes and chaos so intense it nearly wrecked a set. With tensions boiling over and the production hanging by a thread, doubts are now swirling around whether Snow White can even make it to release, let alone survive the fallout.
I'd say that this is one of Disney's biggest regrets ever. I mean, I checked, we've discussed it before. I checked Rotten Tomatoes, and the score is even lower than the last time we talked.
This storm started brewing months ago, when early whispers about Snow White's radical overhaul began seeping out. Disney's latest remake was poised to toss tradition aside, straying far from the charm and simplicity of the 1937 animated classic that once defined the studio's golden era.
Other movie companies are going to look at her and they're going to say box office poison. And a lot of this is due to her behavior leading up to the film's release.
Framed as a bold reimagining to match today's cultural lens, the film set out to rewrite the rulebook, transforming Snow White into a fiercely independent lead, reworking the Seven Dwarfs, and scrubbing classic fairy tale tropes for a modern twist. At first, it seemed like a straightforward update to appeal to current audiences. But beneath the surface, cracks were already forming.
Absolutely. She is just uniquely unlikable, but then it is actually a terrible film as well. So it's the double whammy.
But it wasn't long before whispers turned into warning signs. Rumors swirled that the rewrites ran much deeper than Disney let on. As cameras rolled, behind-the-scenes tension reportedly erupted. While the cast and crew tried to keep it together, constant script changes left everyone scrambling. Scenes were locked in one day, then gutted or completely rewritten the next, plunging the entire production into chaos.
And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
For a project rumored to be closing in on a $300 million budget, this kind of disorder is a ticking time bomb. Endless rewrites, chaotic test screenings, and sudden schedule shakeups signaled one thing. This film had no clear creative direction. By the time principal shooting began, insiders say uncertainty had already taken hold, with many quietly fearing the entire production was steering straight into a wall.
Controversies surrounding Disney's Snow White remake show that we are still in the thick of the culture wars.
At the heart of the storm stood Rachel Zegler, cast as the new face of Snow White *, a modern take on a timeless character. Initially praised for her talent and fresh energy, Zegler's public comments soon began to rattle longtime Disney fans. Instead of embracing the magic and nostalgia of the original, she openly criticized its themes, dismissing the fairy tale's legacy in ways that felt jarring to many. While some applauded her blunt honesty, others felt disconnected, convinced the beloved story was being stripped down and
And then Rachel Zegler plays Snow White. I think Gal plays the. I was not a child, so I don't follow.
Disney didn't hold back, admitting the project was not only wildly expensive, but also plagued by chaos. The most shocking revelation? The meltdown had reportedly left vital set pieces in tatters, a truth that stunned anyone familiar with the studio's typically flawless public image. The idea that the physical set was damaged by off-camera drama added a surreal twist to an already spiraling disaster.
Okay, so they're in, and Rachel Zegler, being 23 or whatever she is, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infatata is the only global solution.
The situation had spiraled so far off course that what was once a promising opportunity for the dwarfs turned into a chaotic mess. With only 7 roles for them to fill, the disruption in the production was a direct reflection of how wildly the film had veered off track. What followed was a nightmare of scheduling upheavals. Scenes that were supposed to be shot in order had to be restructured on the fly. Meanwhile, production teams, design, catering, lighting, stunts, costumes were all scrambling to repair the damage, trying to salvage what was left of the wreckage.
So the two stars hate each other, and then they couldn't put dwarfs.
Rumors quickly spread that the meltdown wasn't a one-time blow-up, but rather the explosive end to weeks of simmering tension between Zegler and key production figures. The eruption finally forced Disney to confront the conflict they had desperately tried to conceal. At the same time, whispers about the film's test screenings began to surface. Multiple insiders revealed that the early cuts shown to select audiences were met with lukewarm reactions, far from the rave reviews Disney had hoped for.
This is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive. You'd think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarves want to work. And honest,
golden employment opportunity for dwarves.
There's not that many scripts that come down the pike.
No, only 7 of them.
That has, and there's 7 dwarf jobs here.
While some viewers found the film's bold new direction intriguing, many were left confused by the drastic changes to familiar characters and key plot points. Complaints about tonal inconsistency also emerged, suggesting the film couldn't decide whether it wanted to be a thoughtful modern reinterpretation or a flashy, magical spectacle in line with Disney's classic films. Word quickly spread that the studio had greenlit not one, but multiple rounds of costly reshoots in an attempt to fix the film's growing issues.
Literally no offense to anything. They're very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White. It makes no sense to me. You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that backward story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man?
They're remaking the movie. They just got rid of the dwarves. Okay,
but what do they call them?
Why would they get rid of the dwarves, though?
Magical creatures.
But they have one token dwarf amongst these magical creatures.
While most big-budget films go through some brief reshoots, what Snow White was facing was on an entirely different scale. Rebuilding entire sets and reworking significant chunks of the story was unheard of, and naturally, it sent the project's costs soaring. With the fallout from the meltdown only adding to the financial strain, the budget ballooned to staggering proportions. Meanwhile, Disney's PR machine went unusually quiet. Plans for flashy promotional appearances, high-profile teaser reveals, and potential tie-ins were either delayed or scrapped altogether. Fan speculation hit a fever pitch, especially as no official reason was given for the delay in marketing materials. Some wondered if Disney was grappling with how to present the film without alienating fans of the 1937 classic, while others speculated that executives were simply waiting for a more polished cut of the film before they made any major publicity moves.
I think it was Peter Dinklage said, this is, this is not right. This is demeaning. And they were like, what? We just want to work. We're dwarves. So, ho, ho, ho. Anyway.
Well, here's actually Rachel Zegler, who is the new Snow White, and she's talking about Snow White being woke.
At this point, the CEO's statements only fanned the flames of speculation. They openly acknowledged the mounting pressure to turn Snow White into a hit that could justify its astronomical budget. With other Disney releases struggling at the box office, this film was seen as a make-or-break moment for the future of their live-action remakes. Rather than sugarcoat the situation, the CEO admitted the film's direction had been reshaped multiple times and acknowledged that tensions on set, particularly with the lead actress, had complicated production more than they'd anticipated.
Tell us a little bit about your version of Snow White.
Yeah, I mean, Snow White is the girl you remember, but she's definitely made for the modern age, and there's such an emphasis on what it really means to be the fairest of them all.